Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Nintendo Expansion Pass here on Boss Rush Games. I'm your host, the Enlightened Insider Eddie V. Joining me is the one, the only Bossman himself, Mr. Corey Deary. Hello, good sir.
Hello, I'm here. We're ready to be back in the swing of things and play and talk some games.
Corey, I am back on a laptop. Do my Series X.
I know you sound weird. You still sound weird. I don't understand. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. I have my mic set up for it to pick up, so I don't know why it sounded weird.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's fine.
Yep, we'll get the audio issues now and later. I have a HP Victus with Intel Core i7. I believe that's the one that you said I should get.
You froze again.
Corey? No.
Yeah.
Oh. Thanks, Skype.
It's fine. Just keep going.
Okay. And yeah, NVIDIA GeForce RTX. It's not a 380 or something. It's a 350. And I'm not going to really game on this laptop. I just need it for recording and hopefully some editing and writing again. So, Corey, I'm back on the computer.
Yay!
Hey. So one of my Black Friday items, it actually came in early. So I was just like, because I had just checked my email, and then it said that it was in. And I only got one more game that needs to come in, and that is going to be Persona 5 Royal for Xbox. Surprisingly, it's not coming into December 8th. I'm like, pretty much everything I ordered, I have.
Wow.
Everything. So,
look at you.
by the time you guys see this, Nintendo Power Block, we'll be doing our show and tell for our Black Friday stuff. I actually got some things in one particular item that is not gaming related.
Ooh, not gaming related. Sorry, I'm watching. There's a video on Facebook right now, and it's like this taco pie thing, and it looks incredible. And I'm not distracted by you. I'm just, this looks amazing. I'm listening. They just keep adding more things to this taco pie, and I kind of want one. I don't know how to explain it. It's like they cut these tortillas and they put it in a bowl, and then they just keep layering it and layering it and layering it, and then it's like a pie / quesadilla something. I don't know how to explain it, but it looks good. It just looks good. And they put it in the oven. Oh, and those are going to be crispy. Oh man, gonna have to try that at some point. That's a terrible drizzle, lady. You do not know how to drizzle. It's fine. We're going to ignore it. Oh my gosh, Ed, this looks amazing. I wish I could show you. I want to see. I want them to cut into it. I want to see what it looks like. Why are you putting a lid on it? Oh, it's a plate. They're taking it out of the bowl. Okay. Caught up. I'm updated. What does this look like? Sorry, this is really riveting radio, but this thing looks amazing. They cut all these tortilla shells, and they put meat and cheese and more tortilla shells, and then meat and cheese and tortilla chips, and then more tortilla shells, and then more meat and cheese. And now this chick's struggling to get this pan off, but it's fine. Oh my gosh, it looks amazing. This looks incredible. Oh, don't stick it back in the oven. Don't put that plate in the oven. That's not oven safe. What are you doing? It's fine. They melted cheese on top of this thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Continue. You know how much I like Mexican food, Ed.
Mm-hmm.
Again with the drizzle lady. Just stop trying. You're terrible at it. Oh, but it looks so good. Okay, I gotta stop. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. That looks so good. Anyways, continue. Sorry.
Well, just it's time for a Patreon shout
It
outs.
is. You're right. So, Ed, Ed, Ed,
Yes.
Ed. It's
Yes.
time. I need you to be excited for Patreon. Patreon. Okay, be excited.
Yes.
Be excited. I need the signature Ed.
Yeah. Woo, yes.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Yes. Okay. My wife said I need to tone down my food excitement. Can't help it. It's fine. It's okay. Anyways, if you want to support Nintendo Power Block, Expansion Pass, and more, you can head on over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Boss Network. Patreon is a monthly subscription-based service where you can support your favorite creators and get perks at specific tiers. Excuse me. We currently offer 2 tiers. Our $1 early access tier, which grants you early access to 5 of our podcasts, and our most popular tier, the $5 Patreon producer tier, which grants you early access plus a Patreon producer credit shout out across our family of podcasts. So without further ado, Ed, our Patreon producers for this episode of Nintendo Power Block Expansion Pass are Adrian Munger, Always on Deck Comedy, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian Skipper, my wife, Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Remember, all of our content remains free. We just give you a few perks for supporting us on Patreon. I want to thank all of our Patreon producers. I want to thank all of our patrons, and I want to thank all of our free listeners. If you are a free listener, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and check out all of our content on bossrush.net. A few things, Ed. A few things. I'm not sure, because we're kind of recording these expansion passes out of order, so I'm not 100% sure where this one's going to land at the moment.
Hmm?
But just a heads up, we will be adding some more tiers in the coming months, including our community interaction tier, our Boss Rush Party Night tier, which I need to talk to you about, Ed. Super exciting. I think Ed froze again, but that's fine. And more. It's important to reiterate that the current tiers will not change. We will also be changing the URL of our Patreon in January to Boss Rush Media to reflect the vision and community and continuity of our company moving forward. So yeah, Ed. Again, we're adding 2 tiers. We're adding the
Yes.
community interaction tier, which grants you voting rights on. Let me see here. Let me see what I have written down real quick. I don't want to get it wrong in case somebody. Again, I want to reiterate that our current $1 and $5 tiers are not changing. They will never change. Those tiers will be $1 and $5 forever, unless $1 goes away, which I doubt. So for the oh my gosh, where is the thing? Hold on, let me find. I need to find it. I'm sorry. So our silver tier, which is our community interaction tier, grants you voting rights and submitting interview questions to 1v1, and you can vote on. We're going to provide 4 or 5 games for the following month's Talk the Walk, which then you can in turn submit questions for that as well. You'll also be able to vote on After Dark topics if we provide them, or expansion pass stuff. So there's a lot of things coming. Of course, you can always join our Discord also, which if you subscribe at the community interaction tier, when we put that live, you will get a special badge and a special channel called Patreon VIP, which you can hang out with our other Patreon VIPs in there as well. So we're going to test it out. When we publish it, we'll let you know how it goes. But also, the other tier, Ed, is Boss Rush Party Night, a once a month thing where we're going to limit that tier to either 4 or 5 people. But it's pretty much, we're going to invite some patrons on, and we're going to have a game night where we play games, where we do trivia, where we do like video game 20 questions, back of the box trivia, video game trivia, video game history, stuff like that. Ed's going to make up a few games to play along as well. I know Celeste said she was really interested in some trivia stuff too. So, yeah, that's going to be like a once a month thing that we're going to limit that tier to 4 or 5 people. And then the winner, we're going to have prizes and stuff. So, yeah, that tier is going to be really fun. Hopefully people are incentivized to do that. And something I'm excited about, we just need to flesh out a little bit. That perk will probably be starting in January, I'll say. So, yeah, very excited, Ed.
Yes.
Very excited for Boss Rush Party Night and Community Interaction tier and some other things. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Should be a fun time. Good time.
Yeah. I got thrown off because I couldn't find where I wrote all this stuff down, so I kind of had to wing it. It's fine. It's fine. I can't decide if Patreon, if Boss Rush Party Night is going to be the first week of the month for the previous month's patrons, or if it's going to be the last week of the month. I think it's going to be the first week of the month for the previous month's patrons, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, that. Anyways, continue.
Well, we have a topic from our good friend Dave Ray. He asks, "Is Nintendo the family gaming outlet that it gets the reputation for being?" And I feel like this is a good question. Um, we talked about the Game Awards a while back, Corey, and when it gets to the family game nomination, everybody calls it the Nintendo uh lineup. And we know that Nintendo has a big diversity of games. I think gamers who feel like this is the family friendly system, I think that's it's kind of dismissive in a sense. Because I think a lot of sorry about that. I think a lot of gamers don't know the history of Nintendo in Japan with some of their things, uh, compared to where their games come from. Yes, a lot of their main games are E-rated with a little bit T, but uh, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, Eternal Darkness, um, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Killer Instinct, they have some stuff that was a little bit mature, um, not full adult yet, like Bayonetta, like the Bayonetta series. But they did have some mature stuff. I think it's just when gamers say, "Oh, the Nintendo's this kid-friendly company," I'm just like, why can't they just be a company who loves to make games? Why it has to be kids and stuff. That kind of feels telling that, no disrespect to Sony or PlayStation or anything, but it kind of feels like you're making these systems feel gatekeeping for anyone who wants to play those kind of games in a sense. And so if you want easy games, you gotta get a Nintendo stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Nintendo's always been like this they always want to have that outward appearance of being family friendly, right? But you always look at um Disney the same way, right? But they're no stranger to, I wouldn't say, adult content, but more like PG-13-esque, right?
Yeah.
With especially now that they own Star Wars and Marvel and Indiana Jones and Avatar and stuff like that. Like they have a lot of offerings for a lot of different groups of people, but they're never like obscene, right? Like, yeah,
Right.
you can go to one of their PG-13 movies, but it's more like action and like, you know, fighting and I mean, you look at Marvel movies, right? That's the perfect example of what a
Yeah.
Disney a Disney PG-13 movie is, or Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Like,
Hmm.
sure, there's some cursing, but there's never any like vulgarity or nudity or anything like that, right? It's just like if you
Right.
see blood, it's like, oh, someone cut their face and it's red. It's not like somebody
Yeah.
cut their arm off and like you see the meat of their arm falling out, right? And so like
Right.
I always think Nintendo is the same way. They make experiences that are, you know, they're available to everybody, and the very small amount of content that they put out for like an M-rated audience is never like obscene, right? I mean, the
Mm.
closest thing is what, Bayonetta, and like
Yeah.
it's so cartoonish and over the top that it's kind of like it's like laughable how how
Right.
crazy it is. So, uh, I mean, yeah, do they have M-rated content? Sure, they do. Like Eternal Darkness in Metal Gear, Twin Snakes, like you said, right? On the Wii U, they published Ninja Gaiden, Razor's Edge. They published Devil's Third, which was interesting. Bayonetta. They have a lot of M-rated stuff. It's just
Hmm.
I feel like the M-rated stuff that they do offer is so niche that like nobody ever thinks about it, right? Nobody ever thinks about
Right.
these games when they think of Nintendo, right? It's not like Bayonetta to Nintendo is not nearly as recognizable as Captain America is to Disney, right? Like
Right.
it's just not the same thing. Uh so I think that's where like the differences lie. I think the closest thing you could get to like a mature title would be something like Zelda or Metroid if they did it in a way that would be that way, right? But
But it's so weird because I feel like the Mario games are kind of M-rated to adults.
what do you mean?
Because
Oh
because
boy, here come
the
the
thing about
comments.
it
Oh
is
boy,
is that,
my
and
head hurts already.
I'm not talking about I'm not talking about fan art and all of that stuff. I think Mario games are get so challenging that it pisses off a lot of adults when they get to cussing
Yeah, but
and throwing controllers.
that's not mature rated. That's just a
But the
difficult
but the thing
platform. A difficult
but the
platforming is not the same as mature
but the thing
content.
but the thing about it is I say it's mature because when adults go into playing a Mario game, they already categorize it as, oh, this is going to be easy and this is going to be a kid's game. And then you play it and the levels, it feels like the level's defeating you, or it's too hard or challenging or anything. Like there's still adults who can't play the full game of Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo. You know, some people feel like they need the rewind function on Switch in order to beat it. But it's just like you should be able to, if you could spend all this time getting an achievement or a trophy for some kind of game on PlayStation, PC, or Xbox, you should be able to get through all of Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers. And some adults cannot do that,
Yeah, but
you know.
that's Nintendo's MO, right? Is like they want you to they want anybody to have fun, right? They want it's easy to play but hard to master, right? That's been
Mhm.
their MO since Super Mario Brothers, essentially, right? It's like, oh well, anybody can play the first two or three worlds of Super Mario Brothers, but once you get into like World 4 and the Lakitus are throwing the the spiked shelled red things at you, and
Hmm.
chasing you across the stage. It's like, yeah, it's hard, but also like,
And then, and then you got like the Mario Kart games on 150cc. You know, like I think it gets people sometimes aggressive and once again cussing like it is no sense. And I think it's just like for a game that's supposed to be family friendly on Nintendo, I think some adults got to remember that yes, the game is designed for everybody, but you got to make sure that you control your mouth around kids. You got to make sure that you control your action around kids. Because the thing about it is, how does a kid friendly game make you end up throwing a controller out of anger?
I mean, I threw a controller at the original Assassin's Creed and shattered it. So, whoops. Not that that's like, anything, but just
Yeah,
saying.
but it's just it's kind of amazing that this kid-friendly image is always just it's only used for Nintendo. And it's just and now when we look at Switch, this kid-friendly image, adults are buying a lot of games on it. You know, it's hitting record high numbers and stuff. And I think the image for a lot of people is just like they don't even think about the kid-friendly image. They just think of I'm getting some great looking games and that also play great and everything.
Yeah.
You know, I kind and I always feel like if Nintendo's going to have this kid-friendly image, then Microsoft and PlayStation got the used games image.
All I have to say is, anybody who thinks some of the stuff is for kids and play Fire Emblem Three Houses.
No.
That's all I'm gonna say. Oh man, but then like, I mean, Switch has other. I mean, not necessarily Nintendo games, but they have stuff like Overwatch and Doom and Wolfenstein, and
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know how much more of that of those types of games Switch is going to get just from a technological standpoint, but like, I don't know. I've been playing Near Automata, and that game is like, by the way, that game is amazing.
Yes.
I haven't got to just play it in a few days, but like, I'm making my way through the amusement park right now, and
Mhm.
man, that game is so it's so weird and intriguing. That world is so intriguing, especially because like, I'm not going to spoil it here for anybody who hasn't played it, but since I already know what happens, like, and like what the world actually is and everything is like, it
Mhm.
makes it that much more intriguing and like makes me want to find out how and why certain things have happened. And man, that game, man, like, I want to tell everybody to play that game. And I know we talk a lot about it on Power Block, and I'm going to talk about it again. Probably the next couple episodes of Power Block, because that's what I'm going to do. But
Mhm.
like, you get an experience like that right on the Switch, and it's like, yeah, I get it. You can play it on Xbox and you can play it on PlayStation, PC, and you can play its prequel or whatever. But it's like, I don't know, man. This game is just it's a wonderful game, and I know this isn't the topic, but it makes me really frustrated when you see stuff like the things that are happening with Pokemon Violet and Scarlet, like the glitches and stuff, and how just, I'm going to be honest, that game looks bad, like from a graphical standpoint. It just does not look great at all. Plus the technical hiccups and stuff. And then you look at a game like Nier or Doom on the Switch, and you're like, man, how do these companies do this on Switch? And then you look at something like the new Pokemon game, and you're like, how are these on the same system? And how does this game that's published by
Mhm.
Nintendo look like this?
So
I mean, and
so what
and that's just like, that's a Game Freak thing. That's not a Nintendo thing, but like, you know what I mean? It's so.
what what I think the theory that a lot of people, well, a lot of people I won't say, the thing is that a lot of people don't know is that while we were back at offices and after the pandemic and stuff, Japan was still working from home
I know, but
when they were making this game. So I think
I know,
they
but other
may have the
companies
limit.
figured it out. Like why didn't Nintendo figure it out, or why didn't Game
I,
Freak figure it out? Sorry,
I think it's because of limited resources and time and
they're the
everything.
Pokemon company.
And-
They don't have limited resources. They
But I'm
choose not
just
to
saying.
have more resources.
I'm just saying
No, I
that
know.
that is probably one of the factors because, like I said, when we were done, not saying done with the pandemic, but when we were going back to the office and doing all of this stuff, it was still was working from home.
Hmm.
So there that a lot of that stuff was still. I was listening to A4 Play and John Ricciardi, who used to be at EGM. He was just like. I know that the game is getting bad press about the technical issues and all the stuff, but people are still having fun at 17 million. They were just like, but I think
Hmm. Hmm. Skype stopped Ed. uh,
oh, it did it freeze?
yeah, it froze again.
Oh no. Um, they
The face you're making on
uh,
camera right now looks hilarious.
oh no. Japanese businessmen, they just literally got back into the office to work. So like Nintendo and probably some of the other video game companies, I think a lot of them just went back into going to the office. That's just one of the theories for it and everything. Now I know that people have this the game has its issues. I know it's not that big on Metacritic and stuff, but people have been finishing the game and enjoying what they're playing for. And it's
Yeah,
not like
and
it's a
well,
lot of
I
that stuff can be patched or
I mean, I
anything.
know a majority of people don't care. It's just like it just I don't know, man. There's a lot of games like you look at Metroid Dread or
Hmm.
Zelda or Mario or Kirby or Nier or Persona, and you just like these games just look so great. And then you get a game that's like mega popular like Pokemon. That game should just it should be better. If it sells 10 million copies in 3 days, which I'm sure it's probably closer to 15 or 20 now by the time of this recording, but like
Hmm.
that game should be Pokemon should be a franchise that they take care of, right? I think is my point. And it just feels like they're not taking care of it the way that they should. And I'm sorry that we kind of switched topics, but like Pokemon is one of the most family friendly franchises on Nintendo, so I guess it kind of ties back.
Hmm.
But you know, hey Ed, you want to turn your camera off and turn it back on because you are just you look like you're napping on the camera. It's so
Oh
funny.
wow.
It's so funny, or you're in deep thought. I'm not sure. There you go. It just feels like a franchise that's not taken care of, and I wish, I mean, and that's part of the reason why I don't play it anymore is because every time a new one comes out, it just feels like somebody has a problem with it, or there's technical issues, or it's not the game that everybody wants, or anything, right? And it's like, and Pokemon is like a franchise that I would really love to be into, and I can't until they figure out how to take care of this franchise.
But I think that happens with a lot of annual games. Because they was just like, of
But
course,
the
Battlefield.
mainline series is not annualized. The last iterations were 3-4 years ago with Sword and Shield. I mean, Arceus is not a mainline game. Let's Go is not a mainline game. The remakes of Diamond and Pearl aren't technically mainline games, right? Like these are mainline games, and it's been 3 or 4 years between mainline games, and
And that's why I
maybe
wonder if
that's the
they.
problem too. Is maybe Pokemon doesn't need to be annualized, at least in
But
this way.
and right, and that's why I like the annualized. They get just getting a Pokemon game out every year.
Yeah,
This is the. I
but
think
this
this
is
is the.
what, the third one this year. There
Um,
was Arceus. There was
Arceus.
Well,
Uh,
maybe no. Pokemon Snap was last year, right? Or was it this year?
right. Pokemon Snap was last year
Yeah. Okay. So,
because I
anyways,
think it was
they already had a bit,
Diamond and Pearl.
and yeah, last
Uh,
November was Diamond and Pearl. Oh, last year
Pearl.
they had
Yeah.
3 games. There's been 5 games in 2 years, right?
Hmm.
So let's see, what was it? It was Pokemon.
Well.
It was Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. It was New Pokemon Snap. It was Brilliant Diamond,
Mhm.
Shining Pearl, Arceus, Legends Arceus, and then these ones, right? So
Yeah, and then Pokemon Unite.
yeah, so 6 games in 2 years. That's people like to rip on Kirby for oversaturating the brand, and rightly so,
Mhm.
because there are too many Kirby games. But like Pokemon is like, just relax a little bit. Give us time to enjoy this version, And like,
Well, I
okay,
think.
uh, hold on, let me finish and then you can go. Like, if you want to release Pokemon Snap in the same year or the year after a mainline game, that's fine. They're not serving this. They're not serving the same purpose, right? They're not.
Mhm.
But like Legends Arceus is serving essentially the same purpose as of Violet and Scarlet, right? You already had a game where you go collect Pokemon and do missions and stuff, right? Like, we already had that game this year, right? So I I don't know, man.
It's for a lot of people who don't know, it's the Mega Man effect. Mega Man was the game. If you're talking about annualizing games, Mega Man was that game. Every year it was
Yeah, but
coming out.
to me that's different though, because you
Mhm.
had one Mega Man game every year, and those games, if you're good at it, are like an hour long, right? I mean, the Pokemon is, you can make it 30, 40, 50, 100 hours depending on how you
Mhm.
play, or longer if you're really into the end game and play with your friends and stuff. Like it, uh,
And it wasn't annualized like that when it first came out on the Game Boy, like red and blue and green,
well,
and
but
then
it
silver and
was,
gold.
though. There was red and
I
blue,
know, so,
and then the next year was yellow, and then the following year was gold and silver, and then platinum.
but that's what I'm saying. It's just like it kind of felt like if you just did red and blue, a year really went past, and then gold and silver came out. It wasn't like red and blue dropped, then gold and silver, like 9 months down the line.
No,
It wasn't anything like that. You
no, but
know.
they
Um.
introduced that third version, right? And that's,
Hmm.
and then they tried to double dip on the third version with what, Black and White 2, and
Yeah.
what did, X and Y get a second version?
Uh.
There's a
So they
couple.
did black. They did black and white, and then Sun and Moon got two versions.
Right, you're right. Sun and Moon got 2 versions, and it's like,
Yeah.
come on, guys. Like,
I think one of the
that's
Mystery
all.
Dungeons also got two games. Got me. But that was kind of the thing, and that's why I said like it reminds me of the Mega Man effect because of how annualized that they were coming out. Um, and I think once they got into literally the Game Boy Advance versions and stuff, when they was doing the two games, and uh, it just felt like the quality of Mega Man was going downhill because of how annualized it was coming and how quickly they had to get it done and stuff. So it never felt like after to me personally, after three came out when four dropped the stuff, people kind of felt like was over Mega Man to Mega Man X came. But
Yeah.
then that quality started going downhill and stuff. And I'm not
When
saying
did
all of them are bad games or anything,
what? Sorry, I
but
didn't mean to interrupt you. When did people really stop like caring about original Mega Man? What people did people like 4? People like 4, right? I mean, I think 2 and 3
yeah.
are often looked at as like the best ones, but people liked 4, right?
Yeah, people like four. I think Kenji Inafune wasn't. I think it was something about him, just like his name wasn't on future Mega Man games, so nobody was really thinking about it until uh the Super Nintendo came out and stuff. And I think people were just playing different games around that time, and stuff. Because Capcom, of course, they had like like Jornoid or DuckTales or Chip and Dale, Tailspin. Like they had some all of these other licensed games. Um, and like Konami was doing their own thing too, like with Turtles and stuff. And I think when Turtles dropped, I think that's when the ideal of Mega Man started to fade away because like when Turtles 2, the arcade game came out for the NES, people were all into that. Like Konami kind of stole Capcom's thunder for a bit. Um, but it was just like the games came out and like people weren't even thinking about it and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. It's just, I don't know. I just Pokemon's weird. Pokemon, I mean, Pokemon has a mind of its own, right? I mean, I think
Hmm.
it's not I mean, it kind of is, but I think Pokemon in a different way is just for a different audience than quote unquote normal gamers, right? I mean, not to say that normal gamers don't like Pokemon. I think a lot do, but like it's the same draw as like Animal Crossing, right? Where like,
Hmm.
oh well, my I don't know, girlfriend who doesn't play games, or my wife, or my kids, or my friend who just wants to farm and play Stardew Valley can play Animal Crossing. It's that type of game, right? Where like Pokemon attracts so many different aspects, right? Where you have the ones who just want to catch them and raise them and breed them and
Right.
feed them candies, and then you have the people who train them to battle and you want to min max their moves. And oh well, I want this Pokemon because it can technically have 3 or 4 different elemental moves instead of just 1 or 2, right? And it's like, you know, there's a lot of different ways to play Pokemon, and I think that attracts a lot of different types of people. I just wish, again, I just wish all those people had a better experience, a better experience. And
Well,
like
it's the
again, like okay, it's clear that a lot of people just don't care because it's sold like 15 million units, right? Probably at this point, probably
Mhm.
more. I it's been what, a week and a half since it come out, so yeah, it's just I wish that those people would have a better experience, because you shouldn't be seeing like characters' arms go like this, or it's ridiculous.
well, it's the overlook factor of things of games. I'm not even gonna get into that certain companies' games when I talk about overlook. But there are times people overlook stuff, even with the technical performances, and they enjoy the game because they're a fan of it or they want to be or a defender of it and everything. It's Pokemon is not on the level of Cyberpunk's 2077 release. It's not on that level of it being bad and stuff.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of people blame Nintendo because that game is on Nintendo and they don't have the hit. They don't know that Nintendo doesn't own the Pokemon franchise. Yes, it's known to be on Nintendo. But if the Pokemon company want to put a Pokemon on Xbox, they would. If they want to have a better performance and stuff, they could put it on Xbox or
Well,
PlayStation.
no, I think Nintendo has a say in that, because I think they own I think they own a majority of the minority stake in the company. So I think Nintendo owns what, 40 something percent. So I think they have say of
Of,
what,
of the
it can
of
go,
the Pokemon Company or Game Freak?
of the Pokemon company.
Okay.
And I think that's what prevents it from going to Xbox or PlayStation. Uh which is another reason why I think they should take more care of it, because they have some sort of stake. I mean, look, Pokemon would sell 100 million copies if it was everywhere else,
Hmm.
right? I mean, you have some Pokemon trading card games on PC and whatever, but like You put a mainline Pokemon game on PC alone, that game's going to sell 200 million copies. There's going to be all kinds of mods and you
Well,
know.
that's the thing that they are afraid of because people feel like it's going. Well, the Pokemon Company, I should say, feel like that game is going to get stolen and then modded to high heaven. That could that could spell trouble for the franchise. Um, I know that the recent story that some people modded it, uh, the game on PC, to make it run and look better and stuff. And that's PC. You could do that for pretty much any game if you know what you're doing and stuff. But I think if they brought it to PC, I think that's why Nintendo tried to keep their stuff off of PC because they know they have a feeling that if anything happens to their IP because of some of what someone else did, Nintendo's going to get the blame for it, and it's then they don't understand that that's something that's out of Nintendo control. Like it's just like the hot coffee controversy that happened. You
Mm,
know, Rockstar didn't really put it in there, but the code and stuff was left in there so that when some people just modded it on PC or was able to find the files or do some digital whatever they did, Rockstar got the blame for that because people thought that you could do the same thing on PS2 and you couldn't. And this is for San Andreas and stuff,
mm,
And I think that's why when it comes to putting games on PC and letting people just mod your stuff, it could cause trouble. I think that's why Bethesda had that modding community or program um, when it came to um, Elder Scrolls. I don't know which game though. It might have been Skyrim. And it was just like if you put that mod out and you sell it, we get all the profit and
well,
stuff.
that's all of Bethesda stuff. They had their whole Bethesda modding community thing. I forget what it was called, but like
Mhm.
they would like charge for mods, and Bethesda got a cut of the mods, which in theory is a great idea, but also like your mods have to be approved and they have to be like, you know, all these things, and then people don't want to pay for mods because they're mods. So,
But you got to realize that's Bethesda's IP. They have the right to all of that. Your game, we don't have to have nobody mods in it. But because we love you guys as a PC community and how creative you guys are, you're making extra content for a game that we don't have to spend no time, resources, or money on.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. I don't know. I think mods are a different story altogether, but
mhm.
um where was I going with that? I don't remember. Uh
But I think going back to the family friendly uh topic, I think Nintendo back in the day that might have seemed uh as something, but I'm like, there's some games in Japan that were in the black cases that weren't family friendly. And once again, if you just don't know the history about the games on the Famicom, you wouldn't understand. You just see all the stuff like Zelda and Metroid, but pretty much Mario being such an iconic gaming character. All the stage stuff and E stuff were going to Nintendo because a lot of people feel like that was the place for, kids who want to play video games to get into. The other systems had, definitely were advertising stuff. We're advertising more mature or teen kind of stuff that kids weren't even ready to handle. But like, I don't think Nintendo. I think all of that changed when parents, to me personally, and I mean me working at Toys R Us, I think all of that changed when parents was buying their 5 or 6 year old Call of Duty on Xbox.
mhm. Yeah.
And so
Well,
it was.
speaking of Call of Duty, right? Like Phil Spencer just came out and said he wants to get Call if when Microsoft maybe I don't know what's going on with the this thing right now,
Mm,
but if they eventually take over Activision Blizzard, he wants to get Call of Duty on Switch, which would be, I don't know, I think that would be interesting. I mean, Call of Duty was on the Wii U, so it's not like it, and on the Wii, so it's not like it has any kind of, uh, it's no stranger to Nintendo consoles, but obviously the Switch is less powerful than the current consoles and online stuff, whatever. But like, I don't know. I think it would be cool if they sold like remastered campaigns on the Switch eShop.
mm.
I think that'd be super
I,
cool.
and I think because Phil Spencer has seen a lot of games that came on Xbox or even just Minecraft put in on Switch or how well that's sold. And I think Phil Spencer is smart to be like, let's put this stuff on as much stuff that we can because we know that excluding Game Pass, we know that people are going to pay for these copies because I would buy Call of Duty for Switch because what happens if that game is hard to find and once everybody get the itch to get that game physically or play it physical and not to go through the eShop, that's going to be people going to be like, oh, I need to go play a Call of Duty. It's 200 some dollars on Amazon. No, people are trying to avoid that. Phil Spencer knows that if they put this game on this console and they put it with a physical, it's going to sell. People can laugh at it all you want, but look at Doom, look at Witcher 3, like look at some of these games that people say that shouldn't happen on Switch, but did, and the sales are very positive.
Hmm. Yeah, and again, like you just brought up The Witcher. Like you look at The Witcher and how well that runs and looks on the
Hmm.
Switch, right? I mean, it's not obviously it's not the best looking version of the game, right? I mean, we know that, but like you look at that and then you look at Pokemon and you're like, how are these running on the same console? And why does one look incredibly worse? And it's a game that Nintendo supports. Like, what is going on?
This That's something to the Pokemon Company and Game Freak. And I'm not gonna knock them or anything. I feel like they're gonna be putting out some patches to get the game running. Um, I think they said this is their first like kind of open world,
Yeah,
you know.
and I get
So
it, but like
I think
they should have called on some help from like I don't know, Monolith or
or they could have called
Zelda
Monolith.
team
Monolith
or you know what I mean? Like
wanted Zelda team.
I
Monolith is helping the Zelda team.
I don't care. Pokemon's gonna sell three to five times the amount that Breath of the Wild 2 does. So you should. I don't look. Zelda's been delayed what 3 or 4 times by now. It should just.
I literally feel like, bro. I feel like Tears of the Kingdom is hitting six to man. If they could hit 6 million in the first 2 days,
Dude, it's selling more than that. I think, dude. I don't know. I feel like Tears of the Kingdom is gonna be a monster hit.
hmm I kind of feel like because I know what's going to end up happening with that game. Sorry, everybody, that we're jumping around in this
It's an
episode.
expansion
I
pass. Who
kind of
cares?
feel I kind of feel like Tears of the Kingdom can Tears of the Kingdom has to feel so different. It cannot be a God of War Ragnarok situation where people feel like it's a great game, it's a masterpiece. I don't think it's a masterpiece.
You're
Um,
playing it on the wrong
but
system, Ed.
even if I'm playing on PS5, I don't think it's a masterpiece.
I
I've
I mean, I had that opinion about the first one, but or the whatever the 2018 one, 16,
it
18. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like this. I think the Ragnarok is, and I'm not trying to knock it or anything, but a lot of people have been saying it feels like an expansion of the first game. If it feels like not much has changed.
I mean,
Uh,
that's an argument in and of itself. I mean, I don't think you
I-
should change the entire world just because you want the game to feel new. I think it lends to the continuity, but
well, a lot of people just feel like it feels it's very familiar to the first game. So if it could have been like If this was a DLC
Yeah, but
patch, I wouldn't be able to tell.
that's a lot of
That's
that's a lot of
that's
sequels though, right? I mean, that's almost every sequel, you
well,
know?
not every sequel, but and that's why I said that. I
Mario's
think
felt
Tears of the
familiar for
Kingdom,
30 years, you know what I mean? Like,
but Mario has always did something different in each game. You know, yeah, there is the basic gameplay, but it's always been something different, different powers, different enemies, level design. Like there's been something very different for each game. And I think with Tears of the Kingdom is that it has to feel, it has to have, it has to be so familiar, um, something familiar about it, but yet still fresh, new, and innovative. And that feels separated.
yeah, and I mean, I think Tears of the Kingdom is going to be the most familiar feelings like sequel, I guess,
Mm,
right? Um but also they've already shown off a bunch of new things. So, you know what I mean? Like it's not like I don't know. Also they're not to like dog it, I don't want this to come off to sound negative because it's not meant to be, but there's a lot more cinematic presentation and production value in something like God of War than there is for Tears of the Kingdom, right? And
yes.
God of War is meant to feel like you're playing a cinematic story driven adventure, right? Whereas Zelda's just you're meant to go exploring and there's a story there, but there's not much story, right? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I mean,
Yes.
they're
And
they're two totally different products in a lot of ways, but
think
I know what
I
you're
think it
saying too.
yeah. And I think it's just that it's the gameplay, like the combat in God of War, that I think that brings that familiar air to it and
Hmm.
stuff. But like surprisingly, like even surprisingly, Atreus plays better. In fact, it literally feels like the game should have been more of him and his gameplay than Kratos, because it kind of feels like, all right, Horizon Zero Dawn, we see you, okay, we understand your combat, but it's yet still. So we're going to make this a little bit faster, a little bit deadlier, and kind of make it feel like Atreus is a little bit more powerful. Like there's something about it that just feels right and stuff. With also being like separated from Tomb Raider and stuff. You know, they're Atreus bow handling in God of War Ragnarok feels different than Shadow of the Tomb Raider, or not Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the modern Tomb Raider games, but yet they studied Horizon Zero Dawn and sped it up and made it feel better in
Hmm.
a sense. And like a lot of people love his parts, but then you go back to Kratos and it just feels like I'm back to playing God of War 2018 and stuff,
Yeah, but
you know.
but again, I think that was their intent with that, right?
Mm,
Their intent was to iterate, not reinvent. They already did that with the last one, which you know, on varying degrees of success, in my opinion. Uh, but I think, I think Zelda, I think Zelda, when I mean, they totally reinvented the wheel too with Breath of the
yes,
Wild, and I think they're going to try to find that fine line of balancing. We're going to try to do this again while also making sure this is a sequel to the last game.
right.
So,
And in the way that you think about it, even Metroid has done that in a sense, had a reinvention
well, I mean,
along
you
with
think about,
Prime and Dread.
I mean, you think about the original Metroid to Super Metroid, how big of a shift that was,
Yeah,
and then you go from something like Super Metroid to Metroid Prime. It's crazy. And then, like, I mean, obviously the 2D ones still follow the Super Metroid formula, and Metroid Dread probably did that better than any of them. And then we're gonna get Prime 4, but I mean, Mario did it too with Mario 64, and I mean, I
Hmm.
would argue hasn't really changed much since Mario 64. But like they've done a lot of interesting things with that formula. Kirby is all over the place. I mean, there's no problem with reinventing the wheel, but tying this back to Pokemon, right? Like
Hmm.
having that open world Pokemon, I think it is what everybody's always wanted, right? That and like a
Yes.
Pokemon MMO, right? Which it was never coming because it's just the Switch can't handle it. Uh, but other than that, they want that open world experience, and I think,
Hmm.
man, if they would have just taken another year, right, and just really polished the crap out of this one and sent it out, I think they could have really. I mean, it's at a 74 on Metacritic. I think they could have probably put it in the 90s if they would have just polished it. But
Yeah, I think, and then I feel like over time with some patch and stuff, that the game is going to be better because like Nintendo is listening to people. They see the problems. They know what's going on. Nintendo probably sent some engineers or whoever or team members to the Pokemon Company to be like, okay, we got to get this game fixed. And I think once the stuff comes out and the game is fixed and functional, I think people are going to enjoy it even more. Like people who just got the game are loving it, are telling their stories that they're on the fifth gym or and everything, posting pictures and stuff. Like you said, people are enjoying it, and I think sometimes when gamers want to overlook all the performance and stuff, because they don't, some people just don't read reviews or think about Digital Foundry or all of that stuff. They just want to play the game and enjoy it for what it is. They know if a game has jankiness, it's not going to ruin the game unless like the jankiness is real serious. And trust me, everybody, there's been some real jankiness in some games.
yeah.
Definitely in some M-rated games at that. So,
Speaking of M-rated games, did you see the Fire Emblem character they introduced today? Oh my god,
I gotta look at it.
looks like a let's just say it looks like a fan direction of a character instead of a real character, but it's the real character.
Oh,
Uh,
so, but yeah, I think Nintendo as a family-friendly system or that name stuff, I don't think it fits Nintendo. I don't think it's family-friendly or anything.
I
Yes, they may
well,
mark. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I think it is family friendly, but I think there's experiences you can have on there that aren't family friendly, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I feel like they're I feel like I don't know. I like I said at the beginning of the show, I think they do what Disney does best is they are family friendly. They have that family friendly image, they have that family friendly culture, but they offer experiences that adults can enjoy too, right? I mean, we listed off a bunch. There's a bunch coming. So, that's my opinion.
Yeah, and we're gonna wrap it up. I think this for having a system like Nintendo having this kid-friendly image and stuff, there's some games that kids cannot play. And I'm not talking about the rating stuff. I think a lot of kids don't know how to get through Fire Emblem. They wouldn't know how to get to Advance Wars. And vice versa with some adults. They don't know the combo system in Bayonetta, or they Ace Party still trying to figure out how to play Smash Brothers and stuff and everything. So it's just like it it may appear as family friendly, but if you're defining family friendly as it's a baby console, it's not anything. If we're gonna talk about it being a family friendly stuff, let's talk about it with games that anyone could join in and have fun, like Switch Sports or Mario Party or stuff like that, or even Super Mario 3D World, or New Super Mario Brothers. Like, if we're gonna talk about family friendly stuff, that means that a lot of the family has to get together and play that game and
Mm.
everything. Because the thing about it is, if we're talking about family friendly stuff, Xbox should have family friendly stuff. PlayStation Destiny should be a family friendly game. Why? Because you can play with anyone who knows how to play that game, regardless of what the rating is.
Yeah, well, I mean that's why ratings exist because they don't want people of certain ages playing the
But
game.
that's the thing about it. It's just like and true. There's people who are in families who play Battlefield or who plays games like The
Well,
Sims and
again,
stuff like that.
yeah, but that's up to the parent at that point. Where if you want to
Hmm.
let your kid play a shooter, like I mean, Fortnite is considered a kid-friendly game, and it's about shooting guns and murdering people. So I mean, even though they're cartoony and the guns are cartoony, and your character technically doesn't die, they digitize and whatever, but
Hmm.
like still shooting people, you know. Which I think if you have kids that understand the difference, like that's it's probably okay. But also, I mean, we were playing GoldenEye when I was like 9 and 10, so and that game was all about shooting people and watching blood come out of their head and go into the wall. I mean, I
But
remember the first time
but
I played Doom and watched alien guts explode. So,
but I'm like, how different it is from me watching that when I played Contra on the NES, or beating folks
well,
up in front of
it's
fight
it's
and stuff
different
like.
because you look at the way games look now. I mean, you can't compare something like Callisto Protocol to Contra in the way that it looks.
But of course, it's that's more.
Right.
Of course, two separate genres and
No,
everything.
it's two
And
separate. Oh, these are 8-bit pixelized Arnold
no,
Schwarzenegger ripoffs,
it's
and
just
this is.
separate. But Contra's not a horror game though.
No, I'm talking about the way it looks. Just the way it looks. You're still shooting
Oh,
guns. You're still some probably some beefy dude shooting guns at something, watching things explode. But like Callisto Protocol is one of the most realistic looking games I've ever seen, and then you look at Contra and it's like, oh well, my daughter drew something that looked like that at school the other day, so whatever, and she's 4.
plus,
So
plus you don't see like real like eyes following you and stuff.
well,
Like I, so
anyways, Nintendo is family friendly, but also you cannot be family friendly.
I think Nintendo is Nintendo who make a variety of games. Anyone could play them. But the thing about it, and if their games get you cussing and fussing and throwing controllers as a dog, that doesn't mean that game is family friendly to you because it's really making you act. Not I won't say mature, but it makes you act in a certain way that's not adult, that's not family friendly.
Yeah, yeah.
Trust me, play, play all three Mario games without using no cheats, unless I won't include Super Mario Bros. 2 uh from Miyamoto. I won't include the Japan one. I play the American 1, 2, and 3 Mario Brothers and play all the way through with no warps, no cheats, and see how family friendly that game is.
I don't know.
So
Well, we will. Yeah. Ah,
agree to disagree. Or,
sure. Yes.
or we both have our definition of family friendly in this term.
Yeah. No, I. Yeah. Yes. I'm not starting another conversation about this. Help, get me out of here. I think he froze again. Ed froze. Even Skype knew you were wrong,
Oh,
Ed, because you froze. But it's okay.
hi.
I think you're back, but your face is still frozen on a smile that makes you look super high on life.
Like,
Hugs, not
what
drugs.
is going on? Wow. I got an Ethernet cable into my computer.
It's fine.
It's
Look,
supposed
it's fine. It's fine. It's all right.
yeah. everybody, that's gonna be it for Nintendo Expansion Pass. Corey, where can we find you?
You can find me at I'm Corey HD on Twitter and Instagram and Hive, I guess, and Mastodon and wherever else you want to find me. And you can also find me on the Boss Rush podcast and Nintendo Power Block.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at ThatButcherCode and on Instagram and on Hive. Haven't started my Mastodon account just yet. Shoot, I haven't even started my Hive account. I'm waiting for that thing to get together.
Look, it's fine. I think here's the thing. Everybody just panicked and moved to other social media platforms because they thought Twitter was going to die. And guess what? Twitter's still alive and bumping, if you'll say. And look, I'm on those other platforms because of other reasons.
Yeah.
But, you have to secure your name, man.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Talk the Walk, Nintendo, Power Block, and more here at Boss Rush Games. Everybody have a great week. Have a great weekend. We will see you next time on Nintendo Expansion Pass. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.